The bustling metropolis of Aurora was alive with the hum of activity, its skyscrapers reflecting the warm hues of the setting sun. The scent of freshly brewed coffee wafted through the air, mingling with the distant sound of jazz music drifting from a nearby rooftop bar. In the heart of the city, nestled in a luxurious penthouse, lived Ethan Blackwood, a charismatic and successful businessman known for his sharp mind and even sharper wit. Ethan's life, however, wasn't as glamorous as it seemed. Behind his poised demeanor was a man longing for genuine connection. His work demanded most of his time, leaving little room for personal relationships. The soft glow of his penthouse lights and the plush carpet beneath his feet seemed to whisper tales of loneliness. Amidst this whirlwind existence, there was one constant: Isabella Bella Reyes. Bella had been Ethan's maid for 3 years, quietly managing his home with an efficiency that bordered on magic. Her dark hair flowed like silk, and her eyes sparkled with a wisdom beyond her years. As Ethan entered the kitchen, the aroma of roasted vegetables and freshly baked bread enveloped him, immediately lifting his spirits. Bella was preparing his dinner, her hands moving with a grace that belied the complexity of the dish. The soft clinking of pots and pans created a soothing melody, a symphony of domesticity that Ethan had grown to appreciate. It was an ordinary Wednesday when Ethan found himself in a predicament. He had been invited to a high-profile get-together by a potential business partner, but his usual date had canceled at the last minute. Ethan, not wanting to attend alone, impulsively decided to ask Bella. He approached her in the kitchen, his footsteps quiet on the marble floor. "Bella," he began, his voice hesitant, "I need a favor." Bella looked up from her work, her brows furrowing slightly. "Of course, Ethan," she replied, her voice soft and gentle. "What do you need?" Ethan's eyes met hers, and for a moment, they just looked at each other. "I need you to accompany me to a party tomorrow evening," he said, his tone leaving no room for argument. Bella blinked, surprised. "Me? But, Ethan, I'm just a maid." Ethan smiled, his eyes softening. "You're more than that, Bella. Please, I could use your company." Bella felt a flutter in her chest. She had always admired Ethan from afar, but never imagined being seen as anything more than his employee. "If you're sure, then I'd be honored," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. As Ethan nodded and turned to leave, Bella couldn't help but wonder what had prompted this unexpected request. Little did she know, their lives were about to become intertwined in ways she never thought possible. The next evening, Bella transformed. She wore a stunning emerald green dress that accentuated her figure, her hair styled elegantly in loose waves that framed her face. The soft glow of the penthouse lights highlighted her features, making her look every bit the part of a sophisticated socialite. As she descended the stairs, the sound of jazz music drifted from the ballroom below, mingling with the hum of conversation and the clinking of glasses. The aroma of champagne and canapés wafted up, making her stomach flutter with excitement. When Ethan saw her, he was speechless. "Bella, you look incredible," he said, his eyes roaming over her dress, his gaze lingering on her face. She blushed, feeling both nervous and excited. "Thank you, Ethan," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. At the party, held in a grand ballroom with crystal chandeliers and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city skyline, Ethan and Bella made quite the entrance. Heads turned, and whispers filled the room. Who was this stunning woman on Ethan Blackwood's arm? As they mingled, Bella's intelligence and charm began to shine. She effortlessly engaged in conversations about art, politics, and business, impressing everyone she met. Ethan watched her with admiration, seeing Bella in a new light. She was not just his maid, she was a remarkable woman. "Bella, you're a natural," Ethan whispered as they navigated the crowds. I had no idea you were so well-versed in economics. Bella smiled, her eyes sparkling. I like to read, and I'm curious about the world, she replied, her voice confident. However, not everyone was pleased with Bella's presence. Among the guests were Claire and Victoria, two socialites known for their spiteful nature. Claire, with her perfectly coiffed blonde hair, eyed Bella with disdain. Who does she think she is? Walking in here like she owns the place. She hissed to Victoria, her voice dripping with venom. Victoria, always eager to follow Claire's lead, smirked. Let's see how long she lasts in this world, she said, her eyes narrowing as she gazed at Bella. As the night wore on, Bella began to feel a sense of unease. She couldn't shake off the feeling that Claire and Victoria were watching her, waiting for her to slip up. But she refused to let them intimidate her. She stood tall, her head held high, and continued to charm the guests with her wit and grace. They approached Bella while Ethan was engaged in a conversation with a group of investors, the sound of clinking glasses and laughter filling the air. The ballroom was ablaze with crystal chandeliers, and the city skyline twinkled like diamonds through the floor-to-ceiling windows. So, how did you manage to snag an invitation to this exclusive event? Claire asked, her tone dripping with sarcasm, her eyes scanning Bella's dress. Bella smiled politely, refusing to be intimidated. Mr. Blackwood invited me, she replied, her voice confident. Victoria raised an eyebrow. Really? And what is it that you do, exactly? She asked, her gaze lingering on Bella's hands, as if searching for any sign of imperfection. Bella's smile never wavered. I manage Mr. Blackwood's household, she said, her head held high. Claire's eyes widened with fake surprise. Oh, you're the help. How quaint, she said, her voice dripping with condescension. Bella felt a pang of hurt, but she stood her ground. Yes, and I'm proud of my work. It's honest and respectable, she replied, her eyes flashing with determination. Ethan, sensing the tension, excused himself from his conversation and joined Bella, his presence commanding attention. Is there a problem, ladies? He asked, his voice firm. Claire and Victoria plastered on their most innocent smiles. No problem at all, Ethan. We were just getting to know your maid, Claire said, her voice dripping with malice. Ethan's eyes hardened. Bella is more than just my maid. She's my trusted confidant and a valued part of my life, he said, his voice filled with conviction. Bella's heart swelled at Ethan's words. She felt a surge of confidence and smiled graciously. Thank you, Mr. Blackwood, she replied, her eyes shining with appreciation. Claire and Victoria exchanged glances, their plan to embarrass Bella backfiring. They walked away, defeated, but not before casting a menacing glance at Bella. As the evening progressed, Bella continued to impress the guests. Her intelligence, beauty, and elegance were undeniable. She effortlessly navigated conversations about art, politics, and business, leaving a trail of impressed guests in her wake. At one point, the host of the party, a prominent businessman named Richard Hayes, approached Ethan and Bella. Ethan, I must say, your date is remarkable, he said, his eyes locked on Bella. Ethan beamed with pride. Yes, she is, he replied, his voice filled with admiration. Richard turned to Bella. It's a pleasure to meet you, Bella. You've certainly made an impression tonight, he said, his smile genuine. Bella thanked him, feeling a sense of belonging she had never experienced before. But as she glanced around the room, she noticed Claire and Victoria whispering to a group of guests, their eyes fixed on her with malice. As the night drew to a close, Ethan and Bella found themselves on the balcony, overlooking the city lights. The cool night air carried the sweet scent of blooming flowers, and the sound of distant music drifted through the air. Thank you for coming with me tonight, Bella. You are incredible, Ethan said, his voice filled with sincerity. Bella smiled, her eyes reflecting the twinkling lights. Thank you for inviting me, Mr. Blackwood. It's been an unforgettable evening, she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. Ethan took a deep breath, gathering his courage. Bella, I want you to know that you mean a lot to me. More than just as my maid, he said, his voice low and husky. Bella's heart skipped a beat. She had been hoping to hear those words all night. But as she turned to face him, she saw Claire and Victoria emerging from the shadows, their eyes blazing with anger. Well, well, well. Look what we have here, Claire sneered, her voice dripping with venom. The help and the boss, getting cozy on the balcony. Victoria snickered. How quaint. Bella felt a surge of anxiety. She knew that Claire and Victoria were trouble, and she didn't want to cause a scene. But as she looked at Ethan, she saw a determination in his eyes that made her heart flutter. Let's go inside, Ethan said, his voice firm. This conversation is not over. As they turned to leave, Bella felt a hand on her arm. It was Richard Hayes. Bella, I need to talk to you, he said, his voice low and urgent. Meet me in the garden tomorrow at 2 p.m. Come alone. Bella's heart raced. What did Richard want to talk to her about? And why did he want her to come alone? I'll be there, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. As they parted ways, Bella couldn't shake off the feeling that something was off. She had a sense of foreboding, a feeling that her life was about to change forever. Bella's heart raced as she met Ethan's gaze. What do you mean? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Ethan's eyes locked onto hers, his expression sincere. I mean that I care about you, Bella. Deeply. You're more than just my maid or my friend. You're the one I want to share my life with. Bella's heart fluttered as she processed his words. No one had ever made her feel this way before. She felt seen, heard, and understood. I care about you too, Ethan, she replied, her voice filled with emotion. In that moment, the distance between employer and employee vanished. They were simply two people, drawn together by fate and mutual respect. As the weeks passed, Ethan and Bella's relationship blossomed. They spent more time together, sharing their hopes, dreams, and fears. They laughed together, supported each other, and explored the city as a couple. Bella continued to manage Ethan's household, but now she did so with a new sense of purpose and joy. She felt valued and appreciated, and she knew that her contributions mattered. Ethan, in turn, became more attentive and supportive, valuing Bella's opinions and insights. He sought her advice on business matters and listened intently to her thoughts. One evening, as they were having dinner at a cozy little restaurant, Ethan took Bella's hand across the table. Bella, there's something I need to ask you, he said, his eyes shining with love. Bella's heart skipped a beat. What is it? She asked, her voice filled with anticipation. Ethan smiled, his expression filled with hope. Will you be my partner? Not just in my personal life, but in my business as well. I want to build a future together, Bella. A future filled with love, laughter, and adventure. Bella was taken aback. Are you sure? I don't have the same experience as you. Ethan squeezed her hand. I'm sure. You're intelligent, capable, and you have a unique perspective. I believe in you. Tears of joy filled Bella's eyes. Yes, Ethan. I'd be honored. Together, they became an unstoppable team, blending their talents to build an even more successful empire. Their love story became the talk of the city, a testament to the power of mutual respect and support. Claire and Victoria, witnessing Bella's rise, couldn't help but feel a pang of regret. They had underestimated her, and now she was living a life they could only dream of. One day, Bella received a letter from Claire, apologizing for her past behavior and asking for forgiveness. Bella, with her characteristic grace, accepted the apology and wished Claire well. As time went on, Ethan and Bella faced many challenges, but they always faced them together. Their love only grew stronger, rooted in a deep understanding and appreciation for one another. On their first anniversary as a couple, Ethan planned a special surprise for Bella. He took her to the rooftop of their building, where a candlelit dinner awaited them. As they enjoyed their meal, Ethan stood up and took Bella's hand. "There's something I want to say, Bella." Bella looked up at him, her heart pounding. "What is it?" Ethan's eyes locked onto Bella's, his gaze filled with adoration. He got down on one knee, pulling out a small velvet box from his pocket. "Bella, you are the love of my life. You are my everything. Will you marry me?" he asked, his voice trembling with emotion. Bella's gasp was followed by tears streaming down her face. "Yes, Ethan. Yes, I will marry you," she exclaimed, her voice filled with joy. Ethan slipped the ring onto her finger, and they shared a passionate kiss, their hearts full of joy. The city skyline sparkled behind them, a testament to their love's ability to shine bright. Their wedding was a grand affair, attended by friends, family, and many of the people who had been at the party where their journey began. The room was filled with laughter, tears, and cheers as they exchanged their vows. As they danced their first dance as husband and wife, Bella leaned into Ethan's embrace. "I love you," she whispered. "I love you too," Ethan replied, his eyes shining with happiness. "Forever and always."